How's it going, everybody? Welcome to our new show, Positive Thoughts. I'm Richard.
And I'm Marshall.
And we're here today to talk about some positive things. And we have a guest today. But the theme of today's show is family. And so we do have a guest on today. Marshall, who do we have on today?
We have Jocelyn Flowers, and she is the host of the Daily Stepmom.
Hi, everyone.
Wow. Hey, welcome, Jocelyn. How's it going?
Good. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background and what you do with your everyday life and the Daily Stepmom.
Yeah, so like you guys said, I am the creator and host of a podcast called The Daily Stepmom. So if you didn't guess by my name, I am a full-time stepmom. I'm a stepmom of my 3 kids, or my husband's kids. I call them my kids. And then we have an ours baby. So that means my husband and I have a child together. And yeah, there just is not a lot of resources out there, positive resources for step parents. And, while everyone was locked away at home over the last year, I wanted to have some resources to just pull from, and realized that just was not a possibility. So I created what I want. Hence the Daily Stepmom came about.
Awesome. Definitely something that comes out the pandemic.
Yeah. Everyone creates when they're stuck at home, I guess.
Oh yeah. And it's a perfect time too. So I think we have some questions here for you, and I'm going to go ahead and start off the first question of the show. What is something that surprised you about being a step parent?
So it's such a great question. Obviously, I think being a step parent, being a parent in general is hard. And I can say that obviously because I am a bio mom. I think what I wasn't surprised, or what really surprised me, or what I didn't expect, was the backlash that kind of came along with being a stepmom. I thought for sure, because I was stepping into this role of, being a mom to these kids and helping out, and a mom in our home. I didn't realize that when I talked about how hard being a step parent was, people immediately came at me with negativity and, you can't think that way. And so that was a big shock for me, because I thought for sure other parents would understand, like, oh yeah, being a parent's hard, but there's this stigma that when you're a step parent, you should be appreciative. Like a phrase that is said a lot is, well, you knew what you were signing up for. You knew what you were getting into. And I just think that's a really unfair thing to say, because you don't tell that to a new mom who's struggling. Well, you know what you were signing up for when you had a child. And so just that stigma that has come along with being a step parent.
And I actually have a stepfather in my family, and being, I was raised by a stepfather. Do you have something similar, Marshall? You have a step parent or anything like that?
No, I don't actually, not in my case. My mom and dad were married for like 50 years or more. I don't know the exact count of years, but I was lucky to not come from a broken home. I had both my parents all my life. Still have my mom. My dad's gone to his reward, but still have my mom. And it's... I had so many friends growing up, though, who had these mixed families, It's an experience I have a hard time relating to, but I would never think of saying to a stepmom, you know what you're signing up for, because you don't, Right. There's going to be surprises. And just like being a parent, I'm also a parent to 2 wonderful kids. And yeah, there's surprises all the time. Like, hey, Dad, I bought a puppy. There's lots of surprises. How do you prepare for being a parent? I don't think you ever can.
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely. Growing up in my home a little bit, I can understand what you're saying. You don't know what you're getting into, and it's a different kind of lifestyle too, because you're not the parent of that child. You can't say, certain things in a way that maybe you would be a parent. You have to be kind of careful treading around that. And my stepfather was he learned those sort of things, and I learned later in life to appreciate my stepfather. And there was a very hard adjusting period when I turned a little bit older, because when you hit 18, you're like, oh, you're not my father, you're not my mother, you're not my family. And so we all go through that phase, especially at a maturity level. And but being there as a step parent, I'll tell you, it's especially at the end of the journey, when they realize how important you were and how much
Right.
love that you had for them. And I came to an understanding at that point, and I said, wow, this person has been in my life more than maybe my real father, or if I didn't have a real father, or along those lines. And so, yeah, I can understand that. Hard things come, and it's always a tough challenge, but I always give a lot of praise to people that are able to step into that situation and take the responsibility, because it's something that now you're putting more responsibility on you, and it's understandable.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because, mothers tend to be, I think stepmothers and stepfathers have such a different dynamic, because generally a mother is nurturing, kind of runs the home, does all the doctor's appointments and school pickups and all the things. Whereas, a father figure is, teaches you sports or car stuff, and, can be a disciplinary if need to. But usually you kind of get away with things with the dad. And so it is such an interesting dynamic as a stepmom versus a stepdad, because, I think if I don't do that nurturing role, who does it, right? And so I think a lot of times, while stepfathers are just as equally as important, there's a different level of, pressure kind of put on a stepmom. And then, also you hear that phrase, mother bear. So women are generally, they tend to be more protective of what's theirs. So there's always that dynamic of it, you don't want to step on the mom's toes either if the mother is involved. So it is kind of like, you're kind of like tiptoeing and just trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what do I do in this situation? In my home, can I say something, or do I let the dad say it? So it is very interesting dynamics for people who have a stepmother versus like a stepfather figure too.
Yeah, I was going to ask about a common pitfall that step parents need to know about, because there's a lot of people out there who, over the course of their life, chances are they are going to become step parents.
Yeah,
A fact of the world in which we live in today, and that's okay. But we need to make sure that people are prepared. We do need to, like you say, provide resources and information, and above all, support. Because you never know when you're going to be the step parent, or somebody you care about is going to be a step parent.
right.
So we all have to kind of work together, But what's a common pitfall? What's something that you're like, oh gosh, if I could do this over, something like that?
I think this would have to be more of a personal question, because I think every situation's so different. I think for me, it would relate to my stepkid's bio mom. We have a working relationship now, and we're, I don't know, 3.5, 4 years in, which is pretty good for a lot of step families to be able to, or blended families to be in this situation. But it didn't start off very good. And I think I would probably have been a little more reserved at the beginning. I'm pretty direct person generally. And so I think that can come off as a bit aggressive, and maybe I was aggressive. I mean, I'm sure if you ask her, she probably would say I was. But I think, looking back, I probably would have allowed my husband and her to figure out the things without feeling like I needed to speak my mind. So just kind of pulling back. And, I think that is a thing that a lot of stepmoms deal with, is just trying to figure out when to speak up and when to not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can see that, especially, coming from another family to a new person in your family. That could always be something of emotional. You have to figure that out emotionally and mentally. And that actually brings me into the question: how'd you deal with the butterflies or the new feelings when you met your new family, for the first time, the kids, and that situation? How'd you deal with those emotions?
It was challenging. I built a relationship with my husband first. I didn't meet the kids until about 6 months into dating, and we just felt they were very young. There's three. So the youngest was 2 when I came into the picture, and then 2, 4, and 5 at the time. So they were very young, and we just wanted to make sure before I was introduced to them that we felt like things were going to stick, and it wasn't just going to be introducing them to someone and then us breaking up and then me not being around. So that's why we decided to wait. But when I met them, I instantly connected with them. The first time we met, we went to farmer's market in San Luis, which is where we live area. And the middle came right up to me and grabbed my hand and held my hand and wanted to show me everything. And so it was exciting because, obviously that's what everyone wants. They want to connect right away. But also it was a little scary because of the instant connection. I didn't know really what to expect. But yeah, so I mean, right then I knew that I was going to be in their lives for a long time. But I think there's just for example, my stepkids called me by my name until we got married. So while we were dating, I was always Miss Jocelyn. And when we got married, the youngest, I actually have a photo of us. She's holding my hands, and she literally in that moment goes, "I can call you mommy now." And it was so sweet because, this is something that I actually am working on a podcast about this, and I'm going to talk about first and second families. And so a first family. And so I should have said it when you said it, Marshall, but when it's not a PC term to say broken family, because my kids don't come from a broken family. They come from a blended family. So it's like a first marriage and a second marriage, or first family, second family. So first family is, the same parents, kids, that's a first family. And then a second family is my situation, a blended family. And so that is now like the new PC term, I guess, because they don't want kids feeling like their home is broken, because, right. And especially in our situation, I don't think my kids feel that they come from a broken home. I think they understand their parents are divorced. But to them, it doesn't. I think we've been able to co-parent now, and back in the time it was difficult, but now we co-parent so well that I think for them it just feels normal. So, but yeah, so and going back to that, I think there's a lot of unrealistic expectations, I think, that stepmoms have, because unless they've been married before. So if they haven't been married before, to them, it's a first family, right? So they're coming into this with the mindset of we are going to be like a nuclear, which that's another word, nuclear family, but you're not. And so I think in talking about the butterflies and how you adjust to being an instant family, I don't know if you really ever adjust to it, because that's that the expectation of, oh, like it's just going to be normal, but it's not normal because there's always something coming up. So I think you're always having to like pivot and take what, like almost like peeling an onion, like that new layer of like, oh, like I'm adjusting to this. Even now I do that. Even now I still have moments where a resentment comes up or something comes up that I have to pivot. And then I have to mourn that loss of having to pivot because my expectation didn't meet my reality.
I was about to say, the deeper you peel that onion, the more you cry sometimes, right?
Yeah,
like
totally.
You get into those emotions, and you know, it starts out like that, and always is an experience. And I give it to the step parents, and you know, I was just talking about the other day, even adoptive parents have it like. Yeah. They have it all ends of it, you know, they're brand new into it. And so at least being a step parent, you still have, you know, the other parent on the other side from the family coming, and the one parent that you're with possibly, to where everybody's hopefully co-inheriting in responsibilities and communications. It's always helpful, and it's always good for the kids, you know, to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of pivot a little bit here to something a little more positive on this topic, which is there has to be some kind of unexpected joy, maybe a pleasant surprise or something. So I want you to tell me about some unexpected joy that you've had.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. My stepkids are amazing. You know, I think the fact that they look at me as their mom is a huge joy. We had an R's baby, so adding in what would be their half brother into the family, it's as if we're one full family. And I think that is so special because, you know, the love that I have for them is different than the love that I have for my biological son. But in a way, I've been able to create these really special bonds with my stepkids. And that choice that I choose to love them every day. I don't have to go above and beyond for them. I don't have to do those things. But it is a joy to do it. It is a joy to see their faces. And one of my new favorite things that I know is going to be something that we hold on to forever is my boys have started playing football. And so I drive them to the games because I know my husband's working, and we have a hype playlist that they want to listen to. And, you know, I created it for them, and we hype ourselves up in the car and we're fist pumping. And, you know, it's that I had that realization that the older they get, you know, you always have like hype music when you play sports to get you ready for the game. And I just know that like some of these songs will always be on their playlist because it's like that memory that we've created. So I think that's probably, some of like my greatest joys is the little memories that I get to create with them where, you know, not my husband's not even around. It's just us and the kids.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's great too. Yeah. It's creating that communication and that connection to the kids, you know, to let them know that you're there to start it off. And that's how really the relationship starts. And so it brings me to another question. How did you manage the situations where, if you've gotten to this point yet to where they might play one parent against each other? Because I remember doing that and be like, hey, I'm gonna go to my dad's, or I'm gonna go there, and really, you know, that's maybe your primary home is where you guys stay, and it's the stable home, or it's the home where they're most used to, and they don't understand that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So how did you kind of manage that if they've gotten to that point yet?
Well, our kids are not old enough to do that whole, you know, I want to go stay with my mom's. And my husband and I we have full legal and physical custody. So they really wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, I guess if they were 15, they could probably make up that choice. But right now they're not at that age. But as far as in the home, our immediate home, when my husband and I got married, we, right off the bat, I said that, it was important that and this might sound bad, but it's important that I am number one in his life, because just like any normal marriage, the husband and wife are a team, and they, the wife is number one in the husband's life, and then they have kids. And so I said that was important. If he didn't feel that he could do it, I didn't know if this would work, because in order for us to be a team and to parent these kids the way they should be parented, he needed to be on my side. And so from the very beginning, we've had that mentality. We sat the kids down and just said, if, Jocelyn says, if mommy, at the time I was mommy Jocelyn, if mommy Jocelyn says something, that's the rule. Like, you can't come to daddy, daddy's going to back up mommy Jocelyn. And just like if daddy says something, you can't go to mommy, like mommy Jocelyn's going to back up daddy. And so we have had that from the very beginning. And they know, even today there was an issue where the oldest said a lie to my husband on the way to school. And, of course he calls me and tells me all about it. So when they get home, the oldest is having to clean my car as punishment. And so I'm asking, and he kind of gives this very sugar cookie version of the story. Right. And I said,
you're not going to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And so I said, you do. And then, my husband's like, well, why don't you tell her the true story? And he's like, that is. And I was like, but you do realize that I actually know the true story. Like, daddy already called me. We've had this whole conversation. And he was like, oh. So that right off the bat has always been a big priority for us. And it works for us.
No, it's true. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that goes in every household, right? If one parent says this is the way it is, then that's how it has to be. Of course, there's the corollary to that, I think, which is go ask your mother, or go ask the other parent, because I don't want to hand in this decision.
Yep. I do that all the time. There's times where I'm like, go ask your dad. And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm hands off today.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I'll tell you, Jocelyn, being a step, child from a step parent, there was a point where I was like, I thought, okay, my mom should side with me. My mom should side with, or you're taking the wrong side, mom. And right. Until you get into a relationship when you're older, you don't understand that. You feel like especially when they get into that preteen age and that teenager age, they feel like, oh, my father should be on my side and to side with me. And yeah. I didn't understand that until I got into other relationships. And now, when I talk to my parents and either they're arguing about something or something, I am like, I'm out of here. I don't even want to be in this. Like, you
right.
guys deal with it, and hopefully I can come back sometime. And, but they hardly ever argue and everything. It's like very rare, but yeah, it was the same situation when I was a kid. I was like, oh, someone has to take my side on this. And just was like, now I understand. I'm like, no, I completely agree. Do your thing, guys. You guys argue. You guys take the decision. If you're both against me, or if it's fine. Like, I understand.
We do too. But we just don't do it in front of the kids. Like, so when we first got married, I was obviously a little more strict, I guess you could say. And so we had code words, because I didn't want him undermining me in front of the kids, because that's like a really big, in any relationship, but in any marriage, but obviously with step parenting. And so we had a code word, and
pineapple.
Literally, when he thought I was being too mean, he would say peanut butter. And so we'd be at dinner, and I remember one time I said something like, maybe the kid couldn't leave until they were done eating, and he was like, peanut butter. And then the kid was like, can I have some peanut butter? And so we both just start laughing.
Oh, goodness.
That's great. That's great. Did any of the rules of the house change when you came in? Really?
Oh my gosh.
I'm interested in that. That's an interesting story.
So, and it's to this day, it's still so funny. And I totally have a completely different understanding than when I did when we first got married. But, you know, the kids would always wake up early, and boy, do they still wake up early, and they would want to come crawl in bed, or before I was married, they would crawl in bed with him. And I remember, like, right after we got married, it was like 6. First of all, I am a sleeper inner, but second of all, it's my bed. Like, and I just got married. Hello. And they would come running in our bed. And I remember the first time I was like, whoa, what are we doing? What are we doing? And he just, you know, my husband's like, oh, we always come cuddle. And I was like, first of all, it's 6 a.m. No one should be cuddling. We should be sleeping. Second of all, no. And so that was like something that we kind of went back and like, it was very hard for him to not have the kids come into bed in the morning. And so then it was, okay, well, they need to knock first. And then it was Saturdays, because I didn't want them to lose out on that completely. So then it was, okay, well, Saturdays can be cuddle day after 7 a.m. They can come cuddle, you know? And so we definitely had to kind of compromise on that, because, you know, that was obviously, and they were little still. And so that was important for him, and kind of like their ritual. But then at the same time, I was like, I'm a little uncomfortable. Like, these are not my children. But now, obviously, having an ours baby, I get that concept of you want to cuddle with your babies. And like, I mean, my son is 21, almost 21 months. And there's mornings where I want to just like lay in bed and watch TV and have him cuddling next to me. So like, I get that, but I didn't as a stepmom, because I had never had kids. So that was like one of the first rules that we did. But we definitely established house rules that we sat down, and obviously, you know, my husband and I kind of preset, and then, you know, we asked the kids their input and like had this whole family meeting, and created some ground rules as well. But that's always the first one that comes to mind when I think of that.
All right. So let's see. What are some good activities for breaking the ice for like your new family? How'd you kind of you said you kind of had these moments with a couple of the kids. How is it kind of that you would recommend to a new step parent to break some of the ice for some of the new kids? Yeah,
so I definitely the most important thing is respect and building a friendship. These kids don't know you from Adam, and you really need to build their trust. And depending on the age of the kids, I think would really depend on what's important. So, you know, obviously the younger they are, they're pretty trusting when they're younger. I mean, let's just be real. Kids are trusting when they're little. So obviously activities that, you know, can show your playful side. If they're older, you know, really just understanding that they may never see you as a parent figure, and that's okay. The most important thing you want to establish is a friendship and trust. And off of that, it can grow. And sometimes it doesn't, and that's awesome. And then sometimes you have that added bonus and joy of them really looking at you and sharing, you know, private information with you, which is always a special thing to have that bond.
I think you got the last question here. We have about 5 minutes. So Marshall, you got the last question?
Yeah. One of the things about this show is I have this hypothesis, this theory perhaps, that even the most ordinary person, which I don't think you're particularly ordinary, you're kind of extraordinary, Jocelyn, which is why you are our first guest. But even the most ordinary person has something extraordinary to share. They have some gem of wisdom that they have acquired from their life's experience that I think would enrich the lives of all of our viewers if they heard it. And so my question to you is, do you have a gem for us, and what is it?
I have kind of coined this phrase for my podcast, and it's called Stay Sane Stepmom. And I think it's so easy, and this goes for anyone, not just stepmoms, but it's so
Did you
easy.
say, you said stay sane? Stay sane,
Yep.
stepmom?
Stay
Okay.
sane, stepmom. That's how I
Okay.
close out every podcast, because life's crazy, but it's crazy for anyone. And so I think it's so easy to get caught up in just the mundane and the cycle of life. And I think in doing that, we can kind of take on negative approaches or negative mindsets. And I want people to, so there's this phrase, it's from the Bible, it's from Esther, and it says, perhaps this is the moment for which you have been created. And I use that when I'm coaching stepmoms and talking to other stepmoms, because it's so easy to be like, I'm not cut out for this. I can't handle this pressure. I'm tired of courts. I'm tired of this. My stepkids are hard. And perhaps this is the moment that you've been created for. Perhaps everything you've gone through in your life, your experiences, whether they be good or bad, have led you to this moment for you to help these kids or your spouse or whatever, the kid's bio mom, whatever it is. Perhaps this is the moment that which you've been created for. And so whenever I'm really struggling, because while I may seem like I have it all together, I don't always have it all together. So I just kind of remind myself, like, this is what I've been created for. Everything I've gone through in life has led me to here, the choices that I've made, and I'm going to do good with it. Like, I'm going to love on my kids. I'm going to love on my husband. I'm going to show grace for bio mom, even when I don't really want to, and I don't think she deserves it. Like, I'm going to do all of that because this is why I'm here. This is what God's made me for in life. So, I just think everyone should have maybe a positive affirmation. It doesn't have to be from the Bible, but something that they stick to or cling to in those hard times. They can remember, okay, like, I can do this, or, I'm fully capable of doing this.
I love that. Find that positive affirmation. I think that's beautiful. I love that.
True. I do love positive phrases to stick by every day. And
well, we need them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Positive thoughts. And so with that final thought, I know that's kind of like a gym, but we've seen final thoughts in shows before, and what's like a quick sentence or a quick kind of something, as you said, kind of stay sane. What's something that you just want to give out there to all the step parents, a kind of final thought?
You are doing a great job, stepmom, stepdad, adoptive mom, even if you're listening. We kind of have the same type of role. You're not an evil stepmom. I know the media likes to portray us that way, but you are a queen. Fix your crown. You've got this.
That's right.
That's
beautiful.
I love it. That's great.
All right, Jocelyn. Well, thank you so much for being on our first show, and
thank you guys.
It was definitely an honor to listen to what you have to say, because I know the experience, and Marshall's always looking for positive thoughts and out there. So I'm kind of involved in what you're saying, so I kind of know how it goes, and really appreciate you having on the show.
And you're welcome. And thank you, Jocelyn. And I want to say to all of our viewers who are watching this, if you have some positive thoughts or ideas or affirmations, some cool gem of wisdom or some amazing life experience, whatever it may be, as ordinary as you think you might be, we want you to share the extraordinary that you've got hidden within you, and we'll help you find it. So reach out to us, connect with us on our Facebook page, and say, hey, I wouldn't mind coming on, and we'll make it happen, and we'll enrich the world one positive thought at a time.
That's right. All right, and that's our show for today. I'm Rich.
And I'm Marshall.
And thank you very much, Jocelyn, for being here on the show.
Thank you.